Shit, man, what a day.
Shit.
That's how we started out.
Oh, shit. Okay, that's can that be the subtitle of episode 1?
It all begins with a shit.
Oh, shit.
Oh, absolutely. This day deserves it.
Welcome, one and all, to our inaugural podcast. My name is Topher Wagner.
And my name is Jerome Allen. Avant Inn.
Hype.
I'm hype. I mean, why not? Why not?
Not be hype. I mean,
okay. I'm not hype for. I mean, yes.
Say what you want about how fucked up everything is.
Yeah.
But I mean, no one ever thought the apocalypse was gonna be boring.
No,
and it's not.
If every apocalyptic film was boring, they'd stop making the films. We already know that.
It's terrifying and thrilling, and it just never ends.
You know, I never really got into like the 24-hour news cycle until today. I was on CNN from like 2 p.m. until like now it's like 9
You were
p.m.
like live streaming CNN.
Yes, basically.
I actually found myself
but I also thought it's interesting though, because I know why people watch CNN, because you're watching the people on the ground talk about what's on the ground and then film it. It's not your usual like we have photos and we like speculate. It's like, oh no. I see it. I feel like I'm there, but I'm not in danger. Right.
Oh, that's very much true. Right. And CNN today, I think, literally just had their cameras rolling on the Capitol building all day. You could just watch them.
It low-key felt like military footage, you know, like you see the footage of the reporters with like the big helmets and like Afghanistan or something. They're like, we are live reporting. It was the same thing.
I mean, I've never seen anything like this not at the Capitol building, the way it's happening right now.
No.
Which, I mean, I mean, by the time this podcast releases, everyone will have known about
it'll
this.
Be a few days or a week or maybe or so.
Everyone who's currently under the rock will have come out by the time this
the rock is going to be flipped over, turned around, chopped up, fried.
No stone unturned after this. Yeah. We don't need to explain, but I will. Basically, the Trump supporters have stormed the Capitol building today. They did it. They made it. They walked right in. I feel like Storm is giving them too much credit.
Climbed, like Spidey climbed, broke the window, jumped in, armed, and then somehow took a picture. Had the ability to take high resolution photos.
Yeah. And those photos were they almost looked photoshopped. A bunch of like dudes in MAGA shirts, like hanging out in the chambers. And like, I saw one picture of a guy who was like taking a podium. He was like carrying a podium with him. It's just really bizarre.
It's so what do you think about like this is one, it's dangerous, of course, like can never ever condone like such buffoonery, but like
or violence
I mean, straight up violence. But what is it that feels like Trump isn't like an entertainer? Like he was a reality TV show person, right? He was an entertainer. He has aroused something that is like entertaining in a cynical, non-entertaining way. Like, I feel like there's something that has to be brought up about like when you like use politics as a way to entertain people and then it just spirals. Like this is not the end of the spiral, but this is we're at a dark spot, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the disconnect there is that like entertainers, they always have some distance between the responsibility of their entertainment, right?
Mhm.
So Trump doesn't actually care about the consequences of like whatever he says because he's just saying it and it's for the entertainment of it and it's for just to get people's attention. But a politician, everything they say does have responsibility with it.
It's monitored, it's recorded, it's soundbite. Whereas for him, he just wants to eat it up.
And that's why they have to be so careful with their words because they know everything they say is going to be turned into ammunition. And Trump just does not care. He's going down in a blaze of glory, just saying anything he can to survive at this point. And it's all going to be recorded. And I think these last 3 months is going to be the legacy of Trump. Like this will be the infamy of like
sure.
There's a reason we have a peaceful transfer of power. And it is clear as day now why it's happening. Because everyone around the world is looking at this like, oh. They said, oh shit.
It kind of brings it up. I mean, we'd be remiss if we don't even mention the fact that within the last 365 days, we already saw, and you and I individually were a part of a protest, BLM or Black Lives Matter protests, and we saw multiple like violent demonstrations from the police. but then we were able to watch a complete and total domestic terrorist attack on the Capitol with very little like police interference until the end.
Right. There was one woman who was shot, who I think has passed.
Who
She
has
was in
died,
critical
yes.
condition last I checked, but apparently she has passed away now.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of seems like the Capitol Police, they shot her, she died, and they went, oh no, we don't want to kill any of these people.
Oh,
and then they just
right,
sort of
right.
stepped aside.
They
right?
arrested
How did all these
13 people, BLM. There was like 600.
How did they get inside?
How did they get inside? I've been to the Capitol. I know you've been to the Capitol. I know there are several checkpoints. Checkpoints.
I remember at some point when I was in the Capitol once, somebody was sat down on the floor and somebody came by and said, you can't do that because if enough people do that, it's considered like a sit-in and we don't allow that.
You
here
can't
in the Capitol
protest
building.
in the Capitol.
You're
right?
literally not allowed
That's
to protest inside the Capitol.
There was the things on CNN of these folks. These like terrorists walking into the rotunda, climbing on the statues, waving the flags, like going. But the one weird thing is though that they had it roped in, like there's velvet ropes, and they all stayed in the velvet ropes. So they're like these like rambunctious. Like you're terrorists, but you're nice terrorists. Is this what it is? Like I don't.
Some rules you just gotta.
Some
follow.
rules you can't. Oh no, I can't step.
Those velvet ropes are expensive.
Okay, rope, but I have my gun.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, were some of them armed too?
No, they were armed.
Oh my God.
They were armed going, and which makes no sense, right? And then you saw they broke into Nancy Pelosi's like office among other people, and left like a threatening note on her desk.
Speaking of like the protest that we participated in, I feel like the narrative from the right this entire year has been the leftists, the Democrats, the
radical left. Let's make sure, yes.
Sorry, the radical left. They get their voices heard through violence and through civil unrest. And the right, we only speak our mind and use our free speech. And it's like, that's because you guys were in power. Now that you're losers, you're going to be protesting the shit out of the next 4 years.
I mean, this is what it looks like when like a white supremacist organization and one that's prompted up by multiple different ones. I mean, not just like, I'm not going to give their names any credence on our cast, but like they have this power, they have this figure, he's up, he's doing his thing, and then he loses power. Like, of course they're not going to let it go. That's never happened in this country. That's all. It's always been that way.
And nothing is really surprising about a single shred of this.
No.
I mean, it feels exciting now that it's actually happening the way that I had.
We just don't get coups every day. That's why it's exciting. But like, it's an unfortunate like. At one point today, I did feel like quite sad. I was like, this is not good.
Yeah, I mean, any joy I get from it is just sort of an ironic, nihilistic, man, we're really just as fucked as we all already knew that we were, right?
I mean, I think and I hope it tears down any shreds of American exceptionalism to think that, you see like the coups that happen in different countries and then I just hope people see it like, oh no, we are not better than XYZ country because, well, no country's better than any country. I hate the hierarchical model. I think the idea of a third world country is quite oppressive, but I hope that people see this and they're like, no, that can happen here. And also shout out to all the countries in which we stage coups in South America and Central America, because here it is.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. It's the exact same thing.
It's the same thing.
And I mean, this coup has been sort of boiling for a while. We knew that Trump was going to contest the election. We knew he was going to do everything he could. No one was really surprised that he was calling up the Secretary of State, which obviously that one conversation with the guy from Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, that's just the one that leaked. That's not the only call. Trump called, Arizona got a call.
Boy.
All
that
of them
is
got a
the
call.
one
Wisconsin.
that leaked. Yeah.
And I don't know how it got leaked, but thank God they did, because we needed that in writing because everybody knew what was going on. And then you mix that in with all the different changing positions at the Pentagon. We saw this coming. And now I feel like we are in the straight sprint of this coup, right? Because now the people are doing the work. And these are people who are armed. These are people that are, some of them maybe mentally ill.
It is, I want to say, either rare or unseen to have a president who is able to mobilize citizens to commit violent acts on his behalf.
Right.
Like, I don't think in our young lives we've ever seen something of that caliber.
Yeah. And all based in conspiracy theory, essentially.
Oh yeah.
You know, say what you want about the Black Lives Matter movement, but you could pull up all of those names that people used that died at the hands of
And
police violence
you can
and
watch the videos.
true documented deaths of
Right.
facts.
Right.
And pretty much none of the theories that are circulating around this Stop the Steal movement has any basis in reality at all.
No.
And so you can't, it's just not it's not a fair comparison to call these both similar protest movements, because
No.
this is just complete
that'd be-
batshit
it's
insanity.
insulting, right? Because one is based in like reality and like a rebuke of a systemic issue that we have. Another is a sycophantic clinging on to like an autocratic person who, let's be clear here. Trump says he loves Putin, he loves Duterte, he loves the guy from please, I can't remember, but I think he's from
Xi
one of the
Jinping?
Caucasus. Also Xi Jinping, well, depending on the day, Xi
Yeah,
Jinping.
That's a love hate.
So his like ability to exhibit dictatorial things is no, I'm not shook. I'm not surprised by that.
Nope.
When also in my CNN-a-thon, I was not, they were like, oh, they're so hopeful. They're like, he needs to come out and say something and stop this. And it's like, it's really cute that you think he's gonna do that, but that's not.
Oh, he
the
tweeted
pl-
though. He did tweet.
Oh, he tweeted, yeah.
He said,
And he released the video, but Facebook had to take the video down because he was basically egging them on more.
But he said something about be peaceful, but then he immediately jumped back into how stolen the election was and how fraudulent it was. And it's like, no, this is the reason they're upset, is
Right.
because you're telling them that it's all fake.
Exactly.
And it's all wrong. It doesn't matter. They know the coded language of you saying be peaceful is the same as saying stand by and stand back.
It's just the absolute same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no difference.
And even I think Don Jr. and Eric Trump, they were at the rally speaking out, saying that it was time to wage war on the Republican Party because the Republican Party had failed them in trying to
Trump said you're acting
save
weak.
the election.
He said you're acting weak.
But then
And this
they
is
immediately
what-
came back and tried to denounce the violence and all this stuff. And it's
Well-
like Don Trump Jr. has no room to denounce violence when he had
Th-
him
this
and
is
his father
This
have
is what he's.
continuously provoked people.
So as we speak, as we are recording this cast, of course the results will. I mean, we already know the results, of course, but the Senate has re-met. They are currently meeting. They are currently talking to certify the results. So,
Let me say something. On
what
this.
is it?
I don't have any much pity for any of the members of the Senate or the House, right? You know, like
No.
they're elected by us and they fail us in many ways.
Yeah.
But it must be so grueling to have to sit through when these kind of processes come up and they have to debate for 2 hours on every single state that voted Biden, because it is
Whatever.
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Dianne Feinstein needs to go to bed.
She needs her nap.
Like-
Diane needs her nap. Folks need to give it to her, but she hasn't gotten a rest. She's got excited. She had to hide under a desk with the mask on. Diane.
Okay, let's talk about. Okay, we need to move on to
Yeah,
something
we
else
do.
soon. But I want to say
last
because we
sentence,
just saw the statements. Because then when they reconvened, they all had to give their little statements about like we will not be bullied and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you could tell I know already McConnell just looks like they think they're heroes for coming back.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, one, like Mitch McConnell, you're not a hero for voting for the person who won the election. Like you're not a hero for just doing the thing you're expected to do.
But it also took him so. But here's the thing. I
It
mean,
took him so
all right.
long.
Last thing, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
But he is also responsible for it because it took him literal a month and some change before he actually said this person is president-elect. You could have stamped this out months ago. So no, they're not like vindicated of blame. Oh no.
And
They're
now
all
those
culpable.
12
I
senators,
agree. I don't feel
those 12 senators now have to double down after what just happened. They all had their lives threatened, and if they come back and be like, "But we still think it was stolen, though." Could you imagine how embarrassing that is?
Oh, it's like peeing your pants in like class and then like still having to get the presentation.
Okay, let's talk about something positive.
Well, last night, okay, so we were texting and I said I was gonna go to sleep and I was like, I'm not gonna watch the election results. I'm not gonna do it. Lord and behold,
you did a CNN-a-thon last night too.
I have been up on politics. I'm hyped on politics right now. But I stayed up till 4 a.m. I was watching the New York Times needle tracker. Highly recommend it because it shows you like the percentages of, what's the margin of error if they could win or not, depending on the amount of votes, depending on the area where it is. And they show you the amount of votes left and also where they're remaining, blah, blah, blah. And I saw that Warnock was like easy win at the beginning of the night. So I was like, cool. I need to watch Ossoff. By the time, I think it was what time, 2, 3 p.m., like Vox had called it. Also, shout out to Vox because Vox was like, we're going to call the presidential election a day before. We're going to call the Georgia election a day before.
We're not Associated Press. We're
No,
Vox.
the AP is like, no, we need without a reasonable doubt. Like, they're going to win. Vox is like, where are the votes going to come from? I don't see your data.
I mean, I'm fine with Vox doing that, right? But like for
Right.
me, I kind of need the AP.
Well, yeah,
I kinda
no.
need that.
I like to always qualify that I'm waiting on the AP results,
It makes
but
me
also
feel good.
I didn't disagree with Vox. I was like, I mean, all the votes are just left in Atlanta. So anyway, great news. Democrats took back the Senate. What do you think about that?
I thought we were gonna lose. I'm not gonna lie. This whole time, I 100%
No,
thought we were gonna lose.
absolutely. I thought Warnock was going to win. Ossoff, cute, smart, and ready, but I think he was going to get elected.
John, I heard this today. John Ossoff is the youngest senator elected since Joe Biden in 1973.
Yeah.
Joe Biden
was 29. I remember this. Yes, I know this little pop fact.
Joe Biden has been in office longer than this man's whole life. That's crazy.
That's so true.
But I'm super stoked. I mean, I think John
good for them
Ossoff,
both.
he's a good candidate in general.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
comes from a journalism
No,
background,
this is
and, like,
this is a dude who's like done all the homework.
totally.
He's did
I
all
respect all
things,
that,
like,
and I love
for him.
I
Good
like
for him.
Warnock too. He's a big proponent of expanding Medicaid, which is like
absolutely.
clearly
I
going to
mean,
be like
the first of the 11th black senator ever.
Oh wow!
So no, this is like history. Despite all the white nonsense, this is big. This is big history.
White nonsense. Also a great subtitle for the episode. But no, I'm stoked about John Ossoff, how young he is. We just generally need
more
senators
younger
in there.
people.
I mean,
that's the thing, right?
I also hope like John Ossoff doesn't like stay in the Senate for the next 50 years like Joe
Right.
Biden did. Like we just don't need that from anyone.
Right.
But it's great to have somebody that's like closer to our generation. And even Warnock, Raphael Warnock is 51.
Yeah, which is still
Feels really young compared
Feels
to
young,
like the
feels ready.
dusty husks that currently
Dusty,
occupy the chambers.
yes.
I mean, how long do you think it took them to evacuate today? Like
Oh,
there was no
a long.
they weren't
time.
running.
No.
I mean, I don't want to sound ageist here. I'm just saying like, we need younger
we're
blood
not
in the Senate.
ageist, but I do think I think it's an issue is to be raised when like a 79-year-old or an 80-year-old is deciding the fate of future generations
Yep.
that they're not going to see. We in our mid 20s, we're going to outlive Nancy Pelosi and all these folks, and that's not like a hyperbolic statement. It's just true.
Mhm.
So the fact that this person is in charge of making the future decisions, it does seem a little off kilter, right? And not because it's one person, because that's the majority of Congress, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's tricky because I think generally most people would agree that we owe this election to the black voters in Georgia. And it's not really a generational thing as far as like the vote goes. But
we owe it to the black voters. We owe it to Stacey Abrams.
Stacey
Abrams said, "You're going to take my governorship. Okay, I'm going to take your state." She mobilized. Shout out to the organizations, Black Voters Matter, and other ones I can't really rattle off my head. But I mean, the fact that she was able to coalesce. I don't know if that's a word, but coalesce. Yeah, I think so. The like all these different voter organizations and actually go to rural, not just like urban black voters, but rural black voters, as well as like, I mean, I know that's a focus because it is the South and it is Georgia, but this is, I think what I find, and I want to like record it, keep it on in the records, is that I think the Republicans are really good at moving the goalposts, really moving the rules around.
Sure.
And then Democrats are like, how dare you? Oh no. And then they
cheated.
You cheated. And then Stacey Abrams said, okay, cool. I'll move the ball.
Yeah.
This is what I need to do in order to win. So like, I think it's not uncanny. I think she just was the one who was able to bring it together. So,
I mean, she really, she proved her point. I mean, people had talked about her a lot as a contestant or candidate potentially for vice president, and I
Mhm.
don't think anyone really took it seriously. You know, she
Right,
had
right,
she had this state Congress position, and then she ran for governor.
right,
And she made it very clear that her priority going forward was going to be registering people to vote,
right,
improving democracy in Georgia.
right.
And not only has she made huge strides for her state, but she has literally changed the game for at least the next 2 years.
Oh,
As
for
far as this
sure.
election was so important, and now she is a political player for sure.
For
Like
sure.
she is one of the
If she does
prime
not,
Democrats in the
she's
country
not
right now.
scoop up the governorship in 2022, then I mean, I welcome her among many as my first female president.
And then just imagine if we could just keep Georgia blue and have that be just sort of the liberal hub of the South. Would be it's such a great centralized location that
I
is
do-
so steeped
I
in.
think it's so funny because
racism
as soon
and
as
all
I
of it.
saw that, I was like, great. Like, we're both from North Carolina. We both
Right.
know that like living in New York City, that like a lot of people think Southerners are all either Republican or racist or backwards, whatever it
Yeah.
may be. So it's just good to actually have someone who's indicating like, no, 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 no. There are liberal and there are Democrats in southern states who are held hostage by gerrymandering, voter suppression, and whatever it may be. So I feel like I hope this is a leading trend. I hope Texas join. I think Texas will join. I think North Carolina will eventually cease to stop leaning Republican, and I don't know, or Florida. I don't know enough. I can't really give that.
Oh, but circling back though to we should wrap up soon. But Raphael Warnock, he came into politics because he was trying to expand Medicaid in the state of Georgia and stuff. And so, I mean, even though he's not for Medicare for all, I do think that's an important note to say, like, these next 2 years is probably going to focus on healthcare. I would imagine that's the number one
I would
priority of
only
this.
hope. I think as soon as I saw what felt improbable a week ago, but like now the current reality, was one, more than likely they're going to pass substantial stimulus like funding for schools, for states, and more than likely I can only predict like stimulus checks. And single payer healthcare system is probably going to come. It will be a debate, but I can see it actually progressing, because that's if anything, Biden wants to be known that he actually was able to not capitalize, but progress forward Obamacare.
Yep. They have to just this next 2 years they just got to prove themselves, pass some healthcare bills. I'm sure if this vaccine rollout continues to work and it actually slows down COVID, Biden's going to get credit for that, whether he deserves it or not.
Right.
And, if things go really well over the next year or two, then we can like solidify another round of the blue wave here. And not even really a blue wave. We just sort of balance the playing field just barely enough. That's the scary thing, right? It's like we just barely got it. It was so close. And we still, I guess they haven't completely certified the results, but we just barely won. And now we just have to really prove. Even just returning to normalcy, I think will be enough for people to be like, okay, we didn't have much to fear. Obviously these crazy Trumpers that are on the Capitol Hill right now, we're not going to convince them.
No.
But their antics are making the older school Republicans shit their pants right now.
And you know what? At the end of the day, we are moving forward. We just have a bit of an anchor on us, right? Like, to be clear, despite, the optics of the establishment Democrats, Kamala Harris is our first female Black vice president. We've taken back the House with like many of the historics, not the House, sorry, the Senate. We have the House. This hasn't happened since 2008. So someone posted, I saw that it said, "Is this what hope feels like?" And it's weird for me. Like that resonated with me. Like, oh, that feels so cheesy, but I think it's true.
Well said. Beautifully put. It seems like this is the first big major news event of the new year. And
and our first podcast.
Glad that we were both here to remember. We can go back and listen to our first podcast of this series and go, oh shit. Shit.
Our theme music is by Lakey Inspired from the song City of Angels.
If you like what you heard, make sure you tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your piano instructor. And if you feel like it, please leave us a review on Apple Music or wherever you listen to this podcast. Also, you can follow us on social media at the Avant Inn. Once again, I'm Topher Wagner.
I'm Jerome Allen.
And follow your dreams.
Goodbye.